just love our little intro with our little coffee cup.
Hey,
Good
twirling.
morning and good afternoon to all of our devoted moms. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Thursday, September 26th. Hey, Gina.
Hi, darling. How are you?
I am pretty good. I am pretty good. It's a beautiful day. How about you?
It is absolutely gorgeous here. We don't know quite what to put on.
Right?
It's a little chilly in the morning, but it's getting to be, a little chilly at night, and so eventually the two will meet.
Right.
But I'm doing good. I've had just a little bit of a belly ache, but I am sipping on some really nice Trader Joe's peppermint tea in my mug, and
Yum.
hoping that it will calm down whatever's going on.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah. So, how was your week?
It's been good. Let me think. What have I done this week? Just been busy. Busy with a lot of work. Nia had school on Tuesday and had another great day at school. I'm thinking about venturing into the potty realm with her. Um,
Woo!
I know, but I'm not quite sure if she's ready. I do have the potty, and
Uh-huh.
every now and then she'll sit on it, but most of the time she says no.
I feel that way.
Yeah. So, you know, I don't know. I'll just kind of keep it around, I guess, and see. But I don't think she's ready for like the full-fledged sit on it every hour kind of, you know, potty
Yeah.
training that it takes. So I'm just gonna kind of keep watching her.
hmm Well, one of
It's
the
hard
things
not
that
to
we
compare. Oh, I'm
we've
sorry.
realized is that each child does totally different. I don't even
Right.
remember how Indira learned how to potty in the potty. She just
Yeah.
did it. Sims, however, I sent out, I think, an email to about 21 mothers
I remember.
asking what to do and when
Mhm.
to do it. And the best advice I kept getting back was when she's ready, she will get it and it won't be a problem. But don't make it a power struggle between the two of you because
Right.
you will lose.
Yeah.
And it was true. It was true. I let up off of it, realized that pull-ups were not the devil, and so I got over it. So I'm sure Nia will do just fine.
Yeah. I think what we're
Yeah.
recognizing in her is she has a very competitive spirit.
hmm
So I know there's probably a few of you moms out there that have that same type of child. So I think for her it'll be maybe learning at school because other kids are doing it kind of
Right. Right.
thing. I
hmm
think will probably be more her motivation than anything.
Right.
Jordan was absolutely easy. KJ actually was very easy being a boy, but he
hmm
did most of his at school. And
hmm
they did it at school for me, and he was potty trained in 1 week, start
Wow.
to finish. 20, I think
Well,
it was.
and I think that
Yeah.
folks at school have a particular self-interest in not having to change diapers
Right,
of kids that are walking around eating real food, and
right.
um, so I think they have a particular desire to successfully help children transition into being independent. So
Mhm.
I do want to say hello to our devoted moms out there. Thank you so much for joining us again. We're back on Thursday, and it seems like it was just the other week we were together with Kimberly talking about great things that those single women who are not quite birth parents yet, what a resource they are for us. And so we
Yeah.
had a really good conversation last week. And
Right.
today we're just going to talk about some of the trends, some of the hot topics, what's trending. There's
Yes.
lots going on in the world. There's a lot of good stuff, and there's a lot of sad stuff. And
Yeah.
it seems like at least once a month we find ourselves being very prayerful and thoughtful about families and friends in a particular area.
Right.
And so this time it's our brothers and sisters in Kenya,
Mhm.
who are it's just baffling. I mean,
Yeah, it
every
is.
tragedy is getting more and more baffling about its nature and the devastation. What I do love to hear, though, are these stories where people are coming together and humanity takes over.
Mm-hmm.
There's an evil catalyst, and then humanity kicks in, and people who have never worked in concert for good find each other. And so
Yeah.
that's exciting. And no, that's not a Google effect. That's a text message. Sorry. I thought it was on Saturday. Sorry. So, what's caught your eye in the news over the last few days?
One that actually caught my attention, actually posted on Facebook as well, and it's not a one of those other kind of not so heartwarming stories, but it's about a young girl in Montana. She was 14 years old and was raped by a teacher, and he received 30 days in
Oh,
prison.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
he'll be released next week. She actually ended up committing suicide.
Yeah.
And so the story's kind of made its way back into the headlines because he will be out next week. And I think that I guess the silver lining of the story is the Supreme Court will be stepping in and looking at this case a little bit closer. And so hopefully all of the outrage will make a difference. But really, too, one of the things that I wanted to pull up and point out was something that the judge said. And he, again, she was 14 years old, and he made the comment that she looked older than she was, she acted older than she was, and she seemed as much in control of the situation.
Mm.
And, those comments really do just break my heart, because it speaks to what many men feel about women that are raped, that we either deserved it, we asked for it,
Right.
And that we played some part in it, whether it was what we said to him or what we wore that day or how much we had to drink. Right. And, despite the fact that this was a child under 18 years old, I mean, that's a whole nother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a whole nother situation.
Yeah, and a person in authority, and I have to kind of push back just a little bit because I don't think it's just men that feel that way. I think that women are also guilty of having those same expressions. And I think that's where it's very hurtful, because if you don't get it gender-wise, then we're really working from such a deficit. And I don't know, I think you remember I used to do rape response for a crisis center in Birmingham, Alabama.
Right.
And I was often, more than not, the only individual that was there to support that woman or the male. I actually had one male client. And it was because they did not believe that their families would support them. I can remember it actually, my class, we were talking about this on Monday, where I had a couple of situations where when there were family members involved, it was almost more stressful for the survivor.
Okay.
And that was truly how I saw them, was that they had survived an ordeal. And I'm teaching pretty much the first social work class for a number of folks who are in graduate school. So these are people who have degrees in like psychology and criminal justice and sociology, and so some of the values of social work around self-determination and around empathy, which is really putting yourself in someone else's shoes in order to try to meet them where they are new concepts. And so we were talking about this very thing, and a number of the times, there was one time where this girl had gone on her first date, and the family was really excited, like they saw her off to her first date, and the young man was not a gentleman. And so her father was in a waiting room and was ready to roll out to go and avenge his daughter's honor.
Right.
And I spent more time with him because he needed to be clear. He needed to understand it wasn't about so much as what he needed to do, but it's what she needed him to be. which was
Mhm.
there and not in prison or not in jail,
Right.
which would just make it even worse.
Mhm.
The amount of guilt and shame attached, your father knowing that this had happened to you, and so most of the time when there were parents in the room, I almost had to attend to the parents, and sometimes I would try to encourage them to leave for a little while, just
Mhm.
to give the survivor a break,
Yeah.
so that they could experience the challenges they were experiencing without having to take care of someone else's feelings. If I
Yeah.
cried too much, it's going to upset my mother. Um,
Mhm.
it was a real learning time for me.
Mhm.
I experienced date rape when I was in college. And I never called it that because I had been drinking, and I did very well think, well, had I not been drinking and in that position, it wouldn't have happened.
Right.
So it allowed for me to even reframe how I thought of it. And when
Right.
we talk to young girls, we had a situation where there was a pastor, and I walked into the room where a couple of teenagers were talking about it, and they were like, "Oh, she knew what she was doing. She was just fast." And oh my
Right.
gosh, I went ballistic,
Mm.
because we've got to inform our young ladies and our young men. There's actually a concerted effort. There's a movement of men against rape.
Right.
And it's to send the message of support to women who experience the violation, to say not all men agree with this, and by us being silent, we are in fact agreeing, and so
Right.
we won't be silent anymore.
Mhm.
And so there's actually, I think they're in DC, is they're a national organization. But that judge, it goes back to thinking about our systems.
Right.
That judge is crazy as a Betsy bug, as they would say in Alabama.
Oh, you went. Whoa! Wait a minute.
I mean,
Time out.
this is not his first time.
What was that you just said?
You've heard me say that before.
I don't think I have. And I'm trying to decide if I want to hear that one again.
He seems to have some cognitive challenges in processing, because remember, he let go the woman who had been in front of him 13 times for DUI.
Yep.
So there's some challenges going on, and so who holds our systems accountable? Here is a judge who made a decision, and that's why when folks start talking about, oh, the government's too big, the government needs to get out of our business,
Mhm.
there are safety nets that we have to have in place so that a judge like that doesn't have the final say so over the protection of society.
You're
And so
right.
the feds can very well come in and say, this wasn't
Mhm.
properly handled.
Exactly.
We need to reevaluate this. We need to reevaluate this judge, and some of his decisions, because
Mhm.
it's not in the best interest of the public that someone is not held accountable or brought to justice. That's
Right.
the system we live in.
Right.
So it is. I don't think it will go away, but I do think, and as I've been pushing, my future colleagues, who are students now, to really understand that you need to be very vocal and
Right.
visible when there's an injustice, or even when there's a policy that is preventing the help.
Right.
Yeah, we've got to be the ones to be the speakers to power. The truth
That's
to
right.
power is very difficult, but for me, that's the profession I joined, and I
Right.
understood that. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was really strange. It's so funny because people talk about Bama and folks in the woods, and I'm not sure Montana. It's a Midwest. It's probably
Right.
rural also, but it's just still a lot of backwards thinking.
Oh yeah. I
Um,
mean, it's all over. Remember, we were dealing with those comments from Todd Aiken and what was the other congressman? Murdoch, I think was his last name.
Mm-hmm.
That was just a year and a half ago about how women can't get that it's physically impossible for a woman to get pregnant from a rape. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. There's
I
there's a lot of work to be done.
yes,
Lots of work to be done. But I
yes,
think that, we're very fortunate that we do have the internet, and we have venues like Sylvia Global who
right,
allow us to have conversations, and really say, how do we talk to our daughters and our sons about when you're seeing something that is very much against what you believe in?
right.
How do you address it in an appropriate way? Um, my niece just put one of her teachers on Facebook and called him she called him creepy or something, and
Hmm.
I'm like, ugh, baby, can you take that down, and can we figure out a more appropriate way to handle this? But
Right.
if he's creepy, what's going on there?
What does that mean? Right.
Yeah. And then on the
Right.
other side, if he's just, a difficult teacher and this is how she wants to express it, that's not acceptable either.
Right.
And so, it's with teenagers, they've got their own perspective of the world and
Mm-hmm.
how things operate. But I was just like, you're really crossing a very thin line.
Yeah.
But you know what? There's going to be a lesson in it. You
There
know,
will be. Yeah.
I want to keep her from getting those lessons, but I think that she has to learn some of those things because uh, you just can't be taught everything. You really have to experience some. How's my
That's true.
teenager doing? How's my 13-year-old, the captain of the cheerleading team?
Captain of the cheerleading team. You know what? She's doing really well. We actually had an interesting conversation at the table the other day, and
Mm-hmm.
she was all talking all about wanting an iPhone, and so the first question was, well, where did this come from? Why is it that you want to have an iPhone? And well, because I want to, be able to access social media. And I think the funny thing is, well, you're not a part of social media yet. Um, so, or are you? So we kind of talked a little bit about that. And then, at first we were kind of trying to give her, how are we putting it? We said, okay, in order for you to get another phone that has a data plan, that's going to add an additional amount of money to our bill every month. So what is it that we may be able to see from you that would encourage us to want to even do that? Because right now you have a phone that you can call and you can text. And if you have an emergency, you're good to go. And then you also have a Kindle if you want to have apps and play games. And so then we started talking about her grades, and her grades are good.
Yeah.
But we said, you know what? We haven't seen you stretch yourself and challenge yourself in the last year. When it comes to schoolwork, you've definitely stretched yourself when it comes to cheerleading, which is awesome.
Right.
But we want to see that same kind of tenacity with school. So how about this? How about, we do the IB program. So instead of A, B, C, D, we do 1 through 7. So how about we start seeing 6s and 7s on your report card, and then maybe we'll definitely consider getting you an iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
Girl, she pouted. She pouted so hard I thought her bottom lip was gonna fall off. And so it just kind of led to this conversation of, you just kind of want to take, and where is the give, and where's
Right.
the working together, because my normal instinct is to shut it down.
Right. Mm-hmm.
My normal instinct is to say no. And like, you have a phone, you have a Kindle, you are good. But instead, we took the approach, okay, if this is what you really want and this is what your heart's desire, then this is what we desire, and let's see if we can, come to the meeting of the minds and work together on it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what she wanted to hear, apparently.
Really? That's funny. Sims has learned how to use my words with me, which...
Yes, she has. I've heard her. Great.
So she will ask me something and she'll say, well, okay, compromise. What about this for a compromise? And she will, in fact, come up with what she feels as a compromise. Now, that's not always the case. It's
right.
It's
but at least she knows the concept.
She does.
I obviously haven't taught my daughter the concept yet.
Well, this is the other thing. I think that Jordan, academically has always been great.
Mhm.
That's not much of a stretch for her to me. I mean, a stretch for her to me would be community service, assuming some responsibilities, and we talked about this, more
Right.
responsibilities around helping around the house. I think you do
Mhm.
way too much to have a teenager.
Mhm.
The stretching for her to study more or to push for her grades when she's already probably getting 6 and 7s.
No, she's not. That's the point.
When did that happen?
She hasn't been. She hasn't been. This last 2 years, she's been around the 5 mark, which, see, and we had this whole Cosby conversation with her last year. Remember the Bill Cosby show when Theo was like, "Can I just be average?" She actually said that to us.
I think you have to. I don't think you can get through adolescence without saying that.
Sure, right.
So she checked it off her list.
Right. So we didn't get mad or whatever. We just had the conversation. Again, we compared it to cheerleading. And we said, okay, I hear what you're saying. So let's change it up. Let's talk about cheerleading. You know, you practice. You don't even have to be asked.
Right.
You're constantly practicing at night.
Up at 6 o'clock in the morning. There's no time too early.
Yes. On her own. On her own. Washes her uniforms and irons and hangs them up all by herself. Now she's the captain. She calls all of the cheerleaders to tell them what they need to wear, what they need to do. She offers to go over their house and help them if they need to learn a cheer, above and beyond. And that is what we're looking for in school, is the above and beyond. And so that's the connection that we made for her. And I said there's nothing wrong with, I'm not saying being average is bad. And I gave her an example of how she got a lower grade in Spanish, but that was because we came from another school where she was doing French. And it was just a really hard transition.
It was a transition, yeah.
And so, but every time she took a test or whatever, she just did a little bit better and a little bit better, and we recognized that, and we rewarded her for that, because that's what's key. But she's gotten to a point of plateau where last year, now even the beginning of this year, she just skates. She enjoys skating. And, I had that. I mean, like you said, all adolescents have been there. I was there. But what I didn't have in my childhood was somebody kind of just giving me that push or that incentive or that motivation to just do a little bit better. I wish I had that, and I didn't. And so, we definitely want our kids to just do the best that they are capable of doing, not comparing them to anybody else. And so that's kind of what, we're dealing with right now. So.
Well, and it's early in her year. I'm going to be on Team Jordan.
Right.
So
am I.
But it would be interesting to see, like, usually there's a correlation in children who are very active and they're great, being really well because they learn how to kind of multitask and multi-prioritize.
I think she's great at that, actually.
Yeah. So I think that's awesome. I think that, again, her stretch is going to be, that would be about benefiting Jordan. So what benefits the world? What is she bringing to the world and to, the family unit?
That's good.
That's not benefiting her. You know what I'm saying?
Totally selfless.
Because that's kind of, Indira kind of has what's in it for me.
Okay. I can see that.
Yeah, what's in it for me?
Yeah.
And if it fits, for other folks too, then great.
That's just gravy. Right. That's icing.
But
that's fondant.
I think that if we want to raise children that are conscious of their impact on the world is multifaceted. Right. And they are so blessed. And I do see reflections where understanding and how giving she is, I think that it's before that real adolescent hits like hard, to start to reward her. And I've learned that from you and Kenny around rewarding versus, punishing.
Right. Well, we do that too.
That those points that she might accumulate. So say she's got to get to 100 points. So these are the things that will get you to 100 points.
Right.
And let her come up with the list. You come up with the list. You all were really good with paying into. Remember, she was so motivated by money. By
And
that
that's
jar.
interesting. She's not anymore.
Well, she doesn't have to be.
Yeah, she does.
Why?
Because she always trying to go somewhere with her friends. I'm like, you got any money? No. Did you do your chores this week so you could earn your commission? No. I don't know what to tell you.
But she still went to the. Did she not go then?
No. She didn't.
What about her Fridays?
See, and then her Fridays, she goes to the square, and sometimes she goes with no money. You still want to go, I'll let you go, but she goes with no money. So, and the thing about it, too, she gets to go to the games because she's a cheerleader for free. So she just goes and hangs out at the games and probably mooches off of other people's french fries.
Well, they probably have communal. 1 week you got, your birthday coming up, you'll have something.
Right.
So, there's a barter system involved there. But she was very motivated by.
Very. Now it's KJ. KJ is extremely motivated by money now.
Really?
Yeah. Mom, I can't go to bed yet because the dishwasher's not done and I didn't empty the dishwasher. And if I don't empty the dishwasher, I can't put a check next to that chore. Like, he's obsessed.
Okay, Raymond.
I know, right? Can I just say that I just love that Regina and I can join and have this conversation about our children and our life. Thank you, Sylvia Global, for giving us that opportunity. I really thank you.
I know. We're just sharing what I'm sure lots of other mothers and parents are experiencing, and maybe normalizing, maybe giving some ideas, maybe saying, wow, my kids are doing so much better.
Ooh, she got that problem. I don't have that problem.
Ooh, I got some other ones, but I don't have that one. But that's what Devoted Moms is about. And, as life happens, we exchange ideas, and then, we come up with what we feel like is the best choice at the time. And, 2 years later, it's a phenomenal idea, or 2 years later, it's like, what was I
thinking? and then we're going to be like, and we said it on air.
Yes. We'll come back and we'll play it.
And it's on the internet now.
I know. So, as we kind of transition to that, I am curious. Yeah. I know that Jordan wants access to social media. My girls are so into YouTube, particularly Simi. Okay. She goes on YouTube and she finds these videos, and they're not bad videos, but I'm struggling with, do I tell her we can only do this together, or do I let her explore, and then as she shows me, I try to figure out how to filter some things, because they're all pretty good about saying when something's inappropriate.
Yeah.
We were watching Family Feud the other day, and we realized that's not really a family show anymore. It's a catch and can.
Yeah.
It was the question. The question was,
okay, what was
what item would a wife not want to find in the car after going to a strip club? Come on.
Wait, and that was the same show that had the other question. I don't know if you finished watching it, but I was watching that same show, and there was another question that said, what if somebody was videotaping you sleeping, what would you not want them to see you do?
That question was first, and then came the stripper question.
Yeah.
Because I almost had to say, well, what is that?
I said, what is that? I was like,
and shout out, for you devoted moms that are up after the kids have gone down and you want to see a little entertainment. Family Feud is funny with Steve Harvey.
Right.
But we kind of used it, we were using it to kind of, enjoy a little TV.
Right,
kind of compromise
together.
on TV and dinner and that kind of thing. And we had to turn it off after that.
Yep. That's two questions in one show.
Yeah.
That were, and then, of course, KJ said, Daddy, what's bub your chub or whatever.
Nope.
I don't even know what it was.
The phrase they used, I almost had to Google it because I thought I knew what she was saying, but yeah. So it goes back to, do we shut it down,
right,
or do we use it as a way of having a conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I think the latter, because I think in everything, in television, in social media, and YouTube and the internet, there's so many good things, that can come from it. But then, with good comes evil. You know what I mean? And so it is more about how to use it, the way we need to use it. Because, my 2-year-old, Nia, loves YouTube. And I messed around, and she loves the song Jesus Loves Me and in sign language, and so I went to YouTube to pull it up so we could watch it together. And lo and behold, she was watching where I went to get to YouTube on my phone. And after that, now that's all she does is go and finds YouTube. And then, and then sometimes it's in other languages she's looking at stuff, and, and so far nothing bad she's pulled up except for Minnie Mouse twerking, which I don't. Yeah, I type in Minnie Mouse, and the third video down is a life-size Minnie Mouse character twerking, and I have to get her to change that but she likes the song that Minnie Mouse is twerking to. So there we are. Little things you never knew you'd be saying. Minnie Mouse is twerking.
Yeah. But it's interesting. I go back and I look to see, like, what has she watched.
Right.
And if I see something that I'm like, well, what did you think about this? Right now, there's some. The birds say tweet or something. It's some animal song. It's song where they talk about the different animals, and then they get to the fox, and the fox says something completely out of the characteristic of a fox.
Okay.
Which they think is hilarious. And she wanted to show me the video, but she had spoiled it. So I'm listening, and I'm already knowing that the fox is going to go off in some other direction.
Right.
But it does allow for us to, they had some questions about childbirth. How does the baby get out? Right. And I went to YouTube, and I said, we watched the video. And Timmy was like, I think I'm going to adopt, Mommy. I don't think I can handle that. And it was because I couldn't explain it, but this is this tool that and it was done in a very natural, it was a pure way of birth.
Right.
And, the woman wasn't screaming her head off, but she was clearly in pain.
Right.
And there was this beautiful moment where this baby was in her belly, and now our baby's not in the belly. Right. And so, they were just like, is there any other way? So then we had to look at the C-section. And they, again, Sim said, I think I'm going to just adopt, Mommy. You turned out pretty good, so I think I'm going to go like Grandmommy got you.
I'm going to go that route. I'm going to Oh my gosh, that's funny. Yeah, so I think it can be used for good. I think that Facebook and Instagram can all be good things, and I definitely am not going to shield my teenager from all of those things because she's going to end up trying to hide it anyway. Right now I can kind of stand by the rules, not just the rule of Mommy, but it's the rule of Facebook and Instagram that you be 14 years old.
Really?
Yeah. So that will probably be a conversation that I have with her when she turns 14, and I'm going to be monitoring and just make sure that your posts are mature and you're not starting fights online and all that kind of stuff. And then I think that, we'll venture into that world because it's just the world we live in, but we can be smart in those outlets. We can be really smart. I mean, think about us right now on Sylvia Global, and, all of our hangouts are on YouTube. I mean, that's just... we can't just like turn our nose up at all, at all social media and internet. It's awesome. People can hear us. Duh.
It's great. And I think also there is a desire to walk with them as they experience these things. Right. Versus either reacting or preventing. Yeah. And I don't know if at some point, there's going to be some price to pay for that. Mm-hmm. I want them to be very calm and honest, and I try to maintain like a very calm reaction because
I
I
gotta
want
learn
them
that
to
from you.
tell me. Hmm?
I gotta learn that skill from you. That is a skill.
You know, I learned that working at the VA with uh, dual diagnosed patients that had schizophrenia and some sort of addiction.
Okay.
And you had to learn. They would say things that
Right.
you just you wanted. I can remember going into one of the closets and just literally falling out laughing. But when I walked
Right.
out the closet, I overheard the guy saying, that Miss Sam, she's nice, but she don't play. She don't do all that laughing and playing and stuff. And so it's been a skill that I've had to
Right.
develop because everything will show on my face.
Right.
And and sometimes it is difficult. But
Mhm.
I try to, and then I try to come back and talk about it.
Right.
So,
Right.
so I think what we're saying is, you manage social media, you talk it through.
Mhm.
When there's things even on Facebook that are inappropriate, and I'm looking at it, I get to say, I'm an adult. I can
Mhm.
look at this. When you become an
Right.
adult, it'll be appropriate for you. And so it's not that you won't ever get to see it, but right now it's not really that funny to you. I couldn't explain
Right.
it where it would really be funny, you know?
Right. 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 That's true.
And for now they're accepting it, but I think it's just constantly being willing to be flexible and change with
Mhm.
them. So just another tidbit on this, maneuvering in this world
Yeah.
with little people.
It ain't
I
easy.
had something I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
So I had a professor, or a colleague, who is working on what's called shy bladder syndrome.
Okay.
It's parauresis. But it has to do with folks who have challenges using public restrooms.
Oh.
And there's actually like American Restroom Association,
Mm.
and they're working to equalize access to restrooms in public venues.
Oh.
And so there's this whole movement. It was very interesting. It came across my LinkedIn,
Uh-huh.
and I found myself really like thinking, because how usually there's a very long line for the women,
Right.
and then there's nobody in the men's room, and then at
Never.
some point in our earlier lives we would just go to the men's
Yeah.
room.
Just did it a
So
couple weeks ago.
they talked about that. They talked about that being unisex bathrooms being option.
Mhm.
But they talked about it in a way where, like, the number of male bathrooms compared to female bathrooms is always very different.
Right.
And for me, it's always seemed like the males always had the, you know, but it's because they apparently spend 79 seconds less time than our 90 seconds.
Oh. Okay.
And there's actually research that talks about this, and it can have implications on where people go in
Mhm.
their life activities, their life choices.
Right.
It's very difficult for folks who are incarcerated or in
Mhm.
institutions that mandate a very limited privacy,
Right.
and the amount of anxiety and stress that it causes
Hmm.
for someone is really being explored. It's one of those things, like, I can squat on a tree. I mean, I've been
Yeah.
like that, but it pushes me to be empathetic to folks who aren't like me,
Right. And I
who
think that's
want.
actually something that's pretty prevalent for children with autism and,
Mhm.
and, and, and adults with autism, not specifically to them, but or just to them. But I do have a few friends with autistic children who really have to make really special arrangements if they are traveling,
Mhm.
going to a restaurant and just really making sure they go to the bathroom before they leave the house, because it can be a really big episode.
Yeah, I have friends who literally will wait all day, and it may be into
Mm.
midnight,
Yeah.
to be at home in order to feel comfortable enough. And so
Mhm.
I just thought it was interesting how there's these things that we take for granted until they're brought to us,
Right.
and maybe, someone we know is experiencing it, that we really, that just being compassionate. Because the first thing,
Right.
when I first saw it, I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was a joke.
Yeah.
And then I felt really bad because I started thinking about what would it feel like if, I'm in Walmart and I'm trying to get, well, not Walmart for you. I'm in Target. I'm in Target, which has one of the worst restrooms. I'm sorry. Target's restrooms are not as clean as Walmart's, but
Maybe your Target.
okay. Anyway, so as I was saying, but taking care of your business, going to the grocery store, getting things
Right.
done, and then, needing to really feel a panic, or
Right.
if anyone's ever experienced anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
I really would. I mean, I really do think about and empathize with just what that must feel like.
Yeah.
So,
That's true.
so in LinkedIn has been a new place that I found some very interesting work being done by colleagues that I just had no idea existed. So, if you've got a LinkedIn account, it's really great to just kind of peruse it. I found myself doing that with Facebook, but it's a different quality.
Yeah, it's very different.
It's a different
Which is
quality.
Good, because you can go, depending on what your needs are, you have a place to go, for either one to get your needs met and what you're looking for. So,
right.
I like LinkedIn. All right. So, just to go real superficial real quick. You know me, I am a TV buff. I love TV. Probably watch too much, but that's another show. But this has been premiere week, this week and next week. All of our shows are coming back. New shows have started. Mm-hmm. So, of course, tonight, the infamous Thursday night, Grey's Anatomy comes back tonight.
I think I'm going to hook back up with Grey's.
Yeah.
They had gotten, I had lost my interest in them.
Yeah,
it was too incestual. I mean, everybody was sleeping with everybody.
Mm-hmm. It did.
What are we going to do next? Can we find another activity? Maybe golf?
Yeah. It did get a little bit it did get a little bit crazy. A couple seasons weren't all that great. Last season actually got better. And so looking forward to this season. Even Kenny said that because we watched the reruns on Lifetime in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. And so the one where George died and, he was, and Izzy had this surgery and all that.
Right.
That's been playing. So the last couple weeks for the reruns have been awesome. And Kenny's like, man, that show used to be really good. And I
said, their first couple of seasons, I mean, I couldn't miss it. I was like, girls, y'all are going to bed.
Yes.
I don't know what you're going to do when you get in that bed, but I know what you're not going to do is walk in the door.
Right. 9 o'clock, shut it down. So, so that starts tonight. Scandal comes back next week. Scandalites, where are you? Unite.
Yes. I am going to spend this weekend just coming up to that last episode.
With her dad.
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to see what Fitz is doing. And
I think that's a good idea. I think we should do a scandal minute every Thursday to recap on what happened the prior Thursday to prepare all of our devoted moms for the show this evening. Yes. I think that would be a new segment to our show. What do you think?
To end with Dad?
Dad? Yeah, that was just great.
I love Shonda Rhimes. I know she probably doesn't watch us on YouTube, but that sister is talented.
Oh, she's a beast. She's a beast. I mean, even last year's, Private Practice ended last season, and that last season's was so good. That to the point where I was like, at first I was like, yeah, this show I think has run its course, but then the last about 5 shows of the season, I was like, man, I'm gonna miss this show.
That's what she does. She brings it out, but then she'll grab a character. I mean, because remember, Private Practice came out of Grey's.
Right. Yep.
So I like the way she kind of lets you, stay connected. Like there's some still connection to those other places. I wonder if she's gonna do that with Scandal.
Yeah, who could be a runoff? Like, I could see a show about Cyrus. He's crazy.
Right.
So there's a new show. Let's see. I watched a new show on Monday. It's a drama. let's see, it was called Blacklisted.
Oh, okay.
That was actually pretty good. That
Well,
was good.
this is the thing. I am in love with the character because he used to be on Boston Legal.
Yes, yes.
I
Love
got to go
him.
back and watch him. I love him.
Love him. And
You
he's
know,
the perfect person for this role.
he's a perfect when he chooses a role, he is that role, and
Yes.
he's a phenomenal actor. You know,
Yes.
again, we're so lucky to be able to have Sylvia Global to allow us
Yes.
to check in with each other and just talk about what, ordinary folks do every day, maybe with a little extra spin to it. Um, I do want to say really quickly, too, that I have to acknowledge that on Monday, yes, Monday, I got to experience and share in the anniversary of my significant other's his anniversary for his recovery.
And that's your God story for today.
He made it to 20 years without any use of mind-altering drugs or abuse. And he's in a very peaceful, serene place. And I just have to give Carlos a shout out because
Yay,
he
Carlos!
really, I know, he really is. He really stirs. I love it. And it was so funny. Okay, so I post to my page, and I just kind of say with Carlos, so it goes to his page too.
Right.
I have like 67 comments.
Yeah.
Of friends that don't even know him.
Right.
Just saying, what a testimony. This is phenomenal. I'm so happy for you. And then, he asked me to go with him as his show is starting back Beyond the Wire.
Right.
Is on Mondays on 10:10 a.m. in Baltimore. And it's a Radio 1 station. So he started the show back. He had a little bit of a hiatus. And he said, well, why don't you, come with me? That we do breakfast first, and then, you can just kind of hang out in the studio with me. And I was like, okay, no problem. And I brought my laptop. I was working on a report.
Uh-huh.
And then he says, well, why don't you put on those headphones so you can hear the show? And I said, I can kind of hear it because it's playing. And he says, don't you want to get a little bit closer to the mic? And I'm like, wait a minute.
What are you doing? Why don't you just
talk to my agent about being on this show?
Right.
And so I'm totally looking at a wreck, and thank God it's radio.
Right. You can do that.
But he and I just had a conversation and heard from people who have also been successful in their recovery from addiction. We also heard from people who were trying to support their loved ones who are still actively battling just such a beast and hoping that they just live through it. It also made me reflect on the amount of work that needs to be done, but also I'm very encouraged on the amount of work that is being done. Mm-hmm. And so I just, want to give a shout out to Carlos and his 20. So I said, oh, now I got a 20-year-old.
Yay!
Which is cool. So he's actually headed out to Denver. September is Recovery Month, National Recovery Month. And so, well, actually worldwide, there's activities all over the world that are acknowledging that people do recover.
Right.
And he's going to be in Denver. I'm going to hang out with the kids here and just support him from afar. But I think that if they're devoted moms who have family members who are struggling or people that you love, it is it's imperative that we just keep that hope. And if you're not sure where that hope comes from, go to Faces and Voices of Recovery online. You'll see lots of examples of people who have who were in some very dark places and are now just lights for the world. And so I really do want to encourage folks because it's something that I don't think there's a family that hasn't been affected in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
By addiction. So that's my that's my God story today.
Yes, that's the perfect way to end this great show. Thank you for sharing that, and congratulations again, Carlos. Love you, brother. I'm Team Carlos, by the way. You're Team
Mm.
Jordan, I'm Team Carlos.
Well,
Oh man.
and I
Thank
will
you.
show you the flowers in the background.
I
Just because
see him.
flowers,
Yay.
they're still living and alive. So we haven't fought yet.
Well, that's good. One day at a time. One day at a
and
time.
and much
Thank
love to Kenny and the
thank you.
family. Oh gosh, I am so grateful to Sylvia that we get to do this because otherwise I wouldn't get to see you as frequently.
Right.
So
I love
thanks to
it.
Google. Thanks to
Yes.
Google Hangout and thanks to Carl. Oh, well, Tasha, do you have a God story this week?
I don't think I have one today, but I will definitely have one next week, and I'm looking forward to our Phenomenal Father show next week, which is one of our
Yay! Great.
favorite series to have. A
Mhm.
good friend of mine will be on who I used to sing on the praise team with, and he is just he's got the same name as my brother, and he definitely is a brother from another mother, as I always say when I speak to him. So so
Good.
excited to have him on, and also just recognizing, how we devoted moms sometimes do it. We can do it because we have phenomenal husbands and fathers and brothers and uncles and male friends and partners that support us and help us to be the devoted moms that we are. So we just want to give them a shout out. So please join us next week, same time, same place, and we look forward to seeing you guys.
Yes,
Bye,
and thank
honey.
you, Carl. Thanks to our producer, Carl. He always makes it
Yay.
happen for us.
Yes, he does. See you on the other side.
All right, sweetie.